We'll give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. We're expecting anywhere between 150 to 200. So we'll just keep an eye on that. And when it feels like the people coming in are slowing down, we'll start at that time. Perfect. I think if everybody is ready to begin, I think I'm going to start jumping in and continuing on here. So just quickly, I'm going to unshare my screen for a moment. So hi, I'm David Leary. Welcome. This is the first official real webinar we're doing with Melio that's just for accountants and bookkeepers. Bear with us if we have a technical difficulty. We should be able to get through this. I'm actually trying out some new technology myself. Previously, I'm a podcaster, so I don't do tons of video. I bought new studio lights. I got a nice green screen behind me, so kind of stepping up the game here to be a little bit more professional. I will actually do, most of it's going to be screen shared, so my video is going to go down really teeny, but I just wanted to go big for a moment to make sure everybody sees and meets me and say hi to everybody. So I'm going to, with that said, I'm going to switch back over and back into screen sharing here. And because it's always a guess with Zoom, Erin, can you confirm that my screen sharing successfully and people can see it?
I can confirm.
Got it. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and begin. So what we'll cover today, we're going to really talk a little bit about Melio. We're going to cover a tour of Melio, who's Melio is for. We'll cover the accountant's dashboard, paying bills through Melio, paying bills directly through inside of QuickBooks Online, via credit card, inviting users, approval workflows, accounts receivable. And I think it's important to know that I did leave time at the end to do Q&A. So during the webinar, if you do have questions along the way, please put them in the Q&A panel down below, and we will surface those up during the webinar if we need to ask questions. And at the end, we'll definitely try to address as many as we possibly can at the end of the webinar. So the Q&A panel's down below. Use the chat more for, hey, how's the weather? If you guys want to have a side discussion about something I'm talking about, definitely use the chat for that. But if you have a question that you definitely want me to answer or somebody on the Melio Accountants team to answer, please put it in the Q&A panel. So a little background on me. I'm David Leary. I'm the Director of Accounting and Bookkeeping Evangelism at Melio. Previous to Melio, I spent almost 22 years at Intuit. I did all roles related to QuickBooks. I started out in doing tech support for QuickBooks DOS 2.0. So my whole entire career has been nothing but QuickBooks. The last 6 years of my career, I really spent heavily involved in the third-party apps that build onto QuickBooks Online. So we had apps.com, you have your T-Sheets and your Hub Docs and your Receipt Banks and your Gustos and apps just like just like Melio. I would work to bring on to the platform and integrate them integrated with QuickBooks and then get them in front of accountants and bookkeepers so that accountants and bookkeepers can utilize those apps with their clients. I built an app. If you've been around in the old QuickBooks desktop days, I built an app called Do My Paycheck. Some of you may have used that. That was one of my babies early on. I co-host the Cloud Accounting podcast. I am a co-founder of an accounting conference called the Accounting Salon. I now have my own company, Sombrero Apps Company. And this is really interesting. Like two major aha moments happened now that I own my own company. So one of them was the very first thing I did is open a bank account. And of course, you're going to go buy something with your logo on it. You're going to get some swag, right, for your new company. So I paid for it with my debit card. And then I got an email of the receipt. I took the receipt. I forwarded it to AutoEntry. AutoEntry did all the OCR. AutoEntry put it into my QuickBooks. QuickBooks downloaded the bank feed and matched it to the transaction. I was jumping up and down in my kitchen, right? Because this stuff really works. Before it was always in theory, right? I was playing with fake data, fake information. I was telling people, oh yeah, apps are great. They're going to move data around, but to have it actually happen in your own company was really cool and eye-opening. But then the other part that's been really eye-opening for me is I have zero tolerance for apps that mess up my QuickBooks data now. So previously, when I was testing apps and I was doing tech support, it was always test data or quality assurance. You're putting fake data in. If it makes a mistake or messes something up, you just move on. It's fake data. But once it's real data and an app puts bad data in your QuickBooks, zero tolerance for that. And I now really have the ability to sympathize more with accountants and bookkeepers when an app does mess up their QuickBooks data of their clients. I was at Auto Entry. Auto Entry got bought by Sage. I didn't leave a job at a big company like Intuit to get a job at a even bigger company, Sage. So I kind of went back on the hunt. I was actually looking for a payment solution for the podcast. And then that's when I discovered Melio. And about the same time, Melio discovered me. And the rest is history. Now I'm part of the Melio at Melio. All this is my contact information over here on the right. That is my cell phone number. Please do not call it because I'm always doing webinars and things like this. But if you want to text me, I'm totally down with that. Texting's okay. Just don't call my cell. I just can't answer it. And we now have a Melio Accountants team, which is super exciting because early on it was just Aaron and myself. We started out about the first week of February. About 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, we added Zoe. About 3 weeks ago, we added Jeff. And just about 2 weeks ago, we added Peter and Suhail. So we now actually have a dedicated team to do sales and support and really help out the accountants for any questions and things that you might have. And we have a dedicated support. So if you're in Melio, there's an email in Melio you can click on, accountants@meliopayments.com, or you can create a chat, right? And you can just chat directly with the team. Email is super easy to remember, accountants@meliopayments.com. And then if you ever forget any of this, you can always just find us on the site, meliopayments.com/accountants. You can always get there. So Meliorism. This is just the dictionary.com definition, but essentially, it's the theory that the world can become better and can always become better because of humans and the efforts they put forth. Historically speaking, some of the romantic languages, Melio meant more well. For me, I think it's just easiest to remember it as Melio means better.
And David, sorry, I'm going to cut you off for a second here. We already have a question. I got a direct message here saying, how do you pronounce? Is it Melio or Melio?
So I tend to say Melio, but I think officially it is Melio. Either way works. I might even say it different ways in this webinar. So I'm probably not going to be consistent, but I think it's kind of fun though. One day in the future, we could have a huge contest and we could have YouTube videos and people could record if it's Melio or Melio, tomato, right? It's kind of that same thing, but either way works. We know what you're talking about and we'll go from there. So what is Melio? Melio is easy to use B2B payments and receivables. And when I say easy, really think like crazy, crazy easy. So if you've ever used Venmo, PayPal, Zelle to just send money between individuals, right? In fact, the founders of Melio were at PayPal when PayPal bought Venmo. So they managed some of the engineering teams that built out that peer-to-peer payments, right? And one of the questions they always had is like, why can't businesses just pay each other as easy as you can pay on Venmo? And so there's two fundamental things of Venmo that are really carried through to Melio, and you'll recognize them. One is easy to use, right? Venmo's super, super easy to use. Anybody can jump in, use it super easy. And the other big basic tenet of Venmo is that you can just pay other people for free, right? It's the ability to pay another person is free. And not only that, you can pay them how you want. So if I'm going to pay Aaron, my co-host here, for a dinner we had last night, I can pay her with my credit card or I can pay her with my bank transfer, and it doesn't matter. She gets to choose how she wants to be paid. So these tenets carry through in Melio. So in Melio, the basic tenet that all small businesses should be able to pay each other for free is really a founding tenet of the product. The ease of use is a founding tenet of Melio, right? And then businesses paying how they want and businesses getting paid how, and other businesses receiving money the way they want is another founding tenet. So those really carried through from that peer-to-peer world to Melio. So who is Melio for? If you think about like a sliding scale from free and easy, and I put ish because you're going to see this in a reason why here in a moment, and expensive and complex. Over here on the free and easy-ish, yes, the bank's website is free, but you've got to type a bunch of things in twice to pay a bill. You could print paper checks, handwritten paper checks. Everybody knows the pain and expense with that. That's why they're really free-ish. And then the other side, you have that very expensive and complex enterprise-level AP software, where you need an approver and another approver and a manager and a VP and the CFO, and then maybe even the CEO to sign off to get a check out the door to pay a bill, right? And for most people, most small businesses are over here on the left. I mean, I made my slide and I put 90%, but this could be as high. I've talked to some accountants and bookkeepers. It could be 97% of your clients are over here on the left. Only a teeny portion of your clients need this complex, expensive solution on the right. One accountant or bookkeeper I talked to, she actually said, it's like taking a sledgehammer and smashing an ant. Right? It's just a lot of overkill that most people don't need. And what's happened is it really left a gap in the market. And so you either had to take your client in the last decade since apps started coming to market, you could either have to take your client and you could have them pay for an expensive product that had too many features and was hard to use, or you had to tell them, sorry, you don't want to pay, then let's just put you on the free bank website, which is crappy, to be honest. Like nobody wants to use the free bank website. So it's left a gap in the market, and that's where Melio Payments is going to come in. Melio Payments is going to be the solution to use across the vast majority of your clients. For some of you, it could be your entire client base. If you don't have huge enterprises that need all these multi-layers of approvals and complexity, you can just use Melio Payments for everything. And if you're using paper checks, handwriting paper checks, the bank website, for sure, you can stop using those forms of payment. So how it works. Melio works pretty straightforward. You add a bill, you can type it in, you can take a photo with your phone. The best way is just have it sync with QuickBooks Online and have the bill show up. You pay it the way you want to pay it. If you want to pay with ACH, you pay with ACH. If you want to pay it with a credit card or a debit card, you pay it with a debit card or credit card. Then the vendor chooses how they get paid. So they can choose to get an ACH deposit. They could choose to get a paper check, right? So it's the crisscross, you paying how you want to pay, the vendor getting paid the way they want to pay it. So it's add a bill, pay a bill, vendor gets the payment. Putting this very early in the slide deck because this question comes up all the time, and waiting till the end, people will just ask a bunch of times in the chat as we go along. So how much does Melio cost? There is no sign-up fee for Melio. There's no monthly subscription. Mailing checks is free. Bank transfers are free. If you invite users, unlimited users, it's free. Receiving payments is free. The only time there's a fee for Melio is when you pay something via credit card or one of your customers pay you via a credit card, right? And so just a reminder, right? The basic tenet of Melio is for businesses to pay each other for free, right? And so really the credit card payments and having a fee on that really enables everything else to become free. Now, with that said, we might eventually have other features, maybe instant payments, or maybe we have to FedEx a check for you. There could be fees for that, but the basic money movement, ACH to ACH, should really be free. It's a basic tenet. So let's go ahead and jump into a demo here. A moment to change screens. And Erin, you can see my browser correctly?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So first off, I'm just going to do a Melio tour. So when you get into Melio, you're going to see that it kind of has a 3-column design. The left column is your navigation. The middle column is really the list of transactions, and the right column is the data. In a way, if you use Microsoft Outlook, right, an email program, the emails over on the left, you click on them and they show up on the right. Kind of a similar navigation. Now on the left, you have your menu. So you have Pay, which is the accounts payable. You have Get Paid, which is your accounts receivable. You have Contacts, which is pretty straightforward. It's your vendors and your customers, the 2 different lists. And then you have settings. Now the settings in Melio are really broken up into 2 halves. There's the typical settings you're going to see across every single app, and then there's some settings that are specific to Melio. So in most apps, you're going to see a setting to manage your profile, your email address, your name, etc. The legal settings, right? Putting the email address the legal address and business address of your clients, getting that stuff all set up correctly, the EIN number, etc. Managing users, this will cover deeper in the presentation, but you can add users, and then syncing with QuickBooks or the accounting software as we support other accounting softwares in the future. So those are kind of standard settings you see in most apps. And Melio, though, we have 2 really specific settings, which are really around the payment methods. So in my Melio, for my business, I actually have multiple ways to pay bills. I can pay through my checking account. I have another second checking account added. I have a debit card added. I have a personal credit card added, and I have my business credit card added. So at any time I pay a bill, I can choose any of these methods. And I just want to call out one of the things that are really important for you as accountants and bookkeepers here is you will map each one of these bank accounts to an account in QuickBooks. So I'm just going to click on one of these to show that. So my bank account for BB at VA is linked to my bank account in the chart of accounts on my QuickBooks and hit the down arrow. And hopefully I don't link it on accident to a wrong one. So all my accounts are listed here in my QuickBooks file, and I can connect to whichever ones I need to connect to. It's a mapping. So that way, when I pay bills in Melio, they go to the correct bank account or credit card account inside of QuickBooks Online. And then I can specify an entirely different account for receiving. So when people pay me, sometimes it's a good practice to have the money you're getting in to go to a different bank account from the bank account you're spending money out of, right? And so I can specify a different bank account for my receiving method. And so now we'll jump into the pay and the get paid features. So pay is really going to have a folder structure inside of it. So it's almost like a workflow. You have the inbox where new bills are showing up here that you have to pay. Then once you schedule the payment, it's going to move over to scheduled. And then once it's paid, so the money comes out of your bank account, it'll move from scheduled over to paid. And then that's how you know it's been processed and pulled out of the bank account. So it's kind of like a workflow. And on the accounts receivable side, it's the same thing. You have requests from people that need to pay you. You have in progress, so maybe they've scheduled the payment to pay you. And then once you receive in your bank account, it'll move over to paid. And what you'll see in Melio is, regardless of the screen size you use, Melio is going to fit. So I'm going to make it really skinny and pretend we're on a cell phone. And you'll see how everything's just resized dynamically and it fits in a very skinny format. Like this would be if you're on a telephone, and I can click to view a bill, and then it'll open up the details of that bill, and I can choose to schedule the bill payment if I want right here, and I can go back. So it fits on any device or any screen that you have. And not only that, as you saw before, as I make it wider or narrower, it adjusts real time to whatever screen it's displayed on. So it's really easy to have your clients, they've already signed in their browser. When they go to their mobile phone, they just sign in and it just works. They don't have to install apps. It's just ready to go straight out of the box on any browser, any shape and size screen that they need to use it on. About 3 weeks ago, we actually have finally launched an accountant's dashboard. And so that other demo, I'm going to just show a screenshot of this because my demo is like my real small business and I'm not an accountant. So I'm just going to show what's going to be like for all of you when you get into Melio as an accountant or bookkeeper. So you're going to be dropped onto the dashboard. At the time, it's only going to have your accounting firm on the dashboard, but you can hit the button that says new client, and then you can add a new client to your dashboard. It's a very straightforward process. You hit the new client button, you give basic information, the company name, you put the email address, and then you have the ability just to connect it just straight to QuickBooks. Once it's connected to QuickBooks, that client would then show up on your dashboard, and it's very obvious which ones are connected to QuickBooks. You can see the bills that have synced, they'll be in the inbox. Any payments that are scheduled will be showing up in scheduled, and then if there's any problems with any payments, they would obviously show up in failed. So very straightforward. You just hit that new client button every time you need to add another client to Melio. And then you can just click and switch between each client as you need to do work. All right, paying a bill. I'm going to show 2 ways to pay a bill and then compare them side by side. So I'm going to pay a bill inside of Melio, and then I'm going to pay a bill from inside of QuickBooks, and I'm just going to show it side by side so you guys can see that. Give me 1 second, just get a sip of water. So here's my Melio. It's empty. I have it connected to QuickBooks, but it's empty. There's nothing in my Melio right now. I'm going to switch over to QuickBooks and I'm going to create a bill. So let's put in a bill for $232.50, and then I'm going to hit save and close. And because I'm connected to QuickBooks Online, Melio synced and brought this bill over to my inbox. So it's in my inbox, and I have my bill for $232.50 to Christine. So now let's pay that bill. Let's click the button that says schedule this bill payment. And we can choose how we want to pay it. So let's use this checking account. We're going to choose the date we want it to come out of our bank account. So I'm going to choose that date, and let's put in a memo. And then I get a confirmation screen, and all the things we've just done appear here. The amount is here. The person I'm paying is here. The bank account is here. The day I'm going to deduct it from, or it's going to be deducted from my bank account is here. And this time I was paying this vendor via paper check, and it gives me that additional information. And if you notice, there's no transaction fee for this transaction because I'm doing an ACH and she's receiving a paper check. There's no credit card involved, no transaction fee. So I'm going to hit confirm and schedule payment. I get one more confirmation screen. I'm going to say done. And now this bill has moved from being in the inbox as a bill to being a scheduled payment. And if you see it says payment is scheduled, it says who scheduled it. It was me, the owner of the company. And it shows when it's going to be deducted from the account. Now let's go back and see what happened in QuickBooks. So in QuickBooks, Melio sent a bill payment back over to QuickBooks for $230.50, and it is linked to the bill. So let's just click on the bill, and the bill is now marked as paid. So inside of QuickBooks, just a lot of you are accounts and bookkeepers, you like to look at the registers, right? So here's the bill that I created in QuickBooks for $230.50. And then when I paid it in Melio, I got a bill payment check put into my QuickBooks that's tied to that bill. And along the way, you're going to get notifications. So when the payment's first scheduled, you're going to get a notification of that. When the payment is actually pulled out of your bank account, right, you're going to be notified of that. So once the payment's pulled out of your bank account, it's now paid, and it's going to move over to the paid folder in the workflow, right? So it moved from inbox to scheduled to paid, and now this payment's here. And if you look at the details on this, it now says the payment was processed on instead of it going to be processed. And it also says fully paid here. And then later on, eventually, she's going to get the paper check. She's going to deposit it. You're going to be notified of the deposit. So QuickBooks Bill Pay powered by Melio. By now, if you're a QuickBooks Online user and you have clients in QuickBooks Online, you're probably seeing this button, Save and Schedule Payment. You won't see it if they're in QuickBooks Simple Start because there's no accounts payable in there. So if there's no bills to pay, it doesn't make sense to pay bills in there, right? So you're not going to see it there. Depending on if they have a different integration, they may not see it. So if you're not seeing this button with your client and you want to be seeing it, please reach out to us. We can help you. We have an FAQ. We can help you get this turned on so you see this button inside of your QuickBooks. So let's go ahead and pay a bill in QuickBooks. So I'm going to type in a bill this time for $142.50. And I'm going to, inside of QuickBooks, click this button that says Save and Schedule Payment down here at the bottom. It's going to take a moment and load. And then I'm going to choose how I want to pay this bill. I'm going to choose the bank account. I'm going to choose the date I want. I'm going to put a memo. Hit continue. And again, I get a very similar review and confirmation screen. $142, the person I'm paying, the day it's going to be deducted. It's going to be a paper check. And again, no transaction fee because I did not pay this with a credit card. I'm going to hit confirm and schedule payment. And so now I'm still in QuickBooks and I have a bill that's marked as paid. So created the bill in QuickBooks, paid the bill in QuickBooks, never left QuickBooks at all. But let's go peek at what happened in Melio. So I'm going to jump out of here and go over to Melio. And in Melio, I now have a scheduled bill payment for $142.50 in my scheduled box. And it shows it's been scheduled. So created in QuickBooks, paid in QuickBooks, never had to go to Melio. Okay. This first one, though, I created in QuickBooks, but I paid it in Melio. So that's the difference there. And then along the way, you'll get notifications. Whoops, clicked way too fast. Sorry about that. And along the way, you'll definitely get notifications along the process when it's deposited, et cetera, even if you do it through QuickBooks. So did you notice? These two screens are the same. One is green, one is purple. These two screens are the same. One is green, one is purple. These two screens are the same. One is green, one is purple. And then finally, the confirmation screen, one is green, one is purple. So we have Melio payments, and we have QuickBooks Bill Pay powered by Melio, which sometimes is just it's a tongue twister. There's a lot to say there. So I tend to make communications easiest with accountants and bookkeepers. I just say purple Melio and green Melio. It just makes it very, very easy for me to discuss this. Now, the way you think about these two products is they're not really two products. It's the same train tracks. So if you noticed, I paid a bill in QuickBooks, it showed up in Melio. I paid a bill in purple Melio, it showed up in QuickBooks, right? Same train tracks, moving the bill payments around and moving that money around. Now the train cars in those train tracks could be slightly different. An example of this is inside of green Melio, so inside of QuickBooks, you can pay multiple bills at once. That's a train card that's on the green Melio, that's not in purple Melio. Now in purple Melio, we have approvals. We have accounts receivable. Right? We have the ability to send out an ACH request. So when you pay somebody, they can self-onboard their ACH numbers. Those are train cards that are only in purple, not in green. Now, they are two separate products that will never be identical. the train cars, but you will see a train car move from one to the other. For example, self-onboarding ACH. In Purple Melio, when you pay somebody the very first time, you have the ability to send them an email, and then they can decide if they want a paper check or provide their ACH numbers. Right? That train car is only in Purple right now, but it's going to be in Green Melio very, very soon. And so this is kind of new as a concept, and for a lot of people, a lot of apps don't work this way, where you can dance between the two and put your clients on what the right fit is. So if you have a client that maybe they have their own AP clerk and they only use QuickBooks and they don't need approvers, you'll just set them up, get them connected, and they just work in QuickBooks. You might have another client that all they want to do is approve bills. Well, then you invite them to Purple Melio. You pay the bills, schedule the bills, and then they do the approvals. So you can fit your client to the right workflow that they need without having clients on two different kinds of products. So I want to pause here because a lot of products don't work this way, and I want to just pause if there's any questions here.
Yeah, David, we've been getting a few questions. I'm going to save most of them for the end, but I got a number of direct messages that I'm hoping you can address for the audience right now. The first is, should I add my clients in green or in purple? Like, which of these should I be adding my clients to? And then another question that's come up a couple times is, will this work with QuickBooks Desktop?
Okay, so we'll get QuickBooks Desktop out of the way right now. Right now, Melio only works with QuickBooks Online. It doesn't mean it won't work with other accounting systems. If you have a QuickBooks Desktop customer, you can still use Melio. It's just not going to have a direct integration. But I would still recommend using it, because if you use QuickBooks Desktop and you use the bank's bill pay site, you have more work and more clicks. But if you use QuickBooks Desktop and use Melio, you're going to have a couple less clicks every time you need to pay a bill. So I would recommend that you probably, even if you're using QuickBooks Desktop, still use Purple Melio, even though you don't have a direct integration at this time. And then the other question, I'm sorry again, Erin, was?
It's okay. It was people asking, should I add my clients in green or in purple?
So technically you could add them in either place, but green's a lot more clicks because you have to navigate to each client, and then you have to go in and pay the bill to get them to set up their Melio account. And Purple Melio, you just go to your dashboard and just hit that purple button that says add client. And just like I showed you before, it's pretty straightforward. You're just adding the name of the company, adding the email address of the owner, and connecting it to QuickBooks. So you actually could go in today, add all your clients to Purple Melio. And that way, if any of your clients discover Melio inside of QuickBooks, they're already connected, ready to go. You don't have to do any dancing or inviting. They're connected, ready to go for the future. So I recommend you get on the dashboard, you add your clients on the Purple Melio dashboard. So paying by credit card. Paying by credit card is the thing that makes Melio very, very unique. And I think there's three distinctive use cases for paying by credit card. One of them is you all have these clients, they love the points. They want to fly first class. They want the American Express Black Card. This is going to enable them to pay all their bills through their credit card. Right? That's a major, easy use case. The second use case is to pay non-traditional items. So a lot of people will, you can't pay your rent, right, to your landlord of your office space via a credit card. But with Melio, you could pay it via a credit card and your landlord would get a paper check. So it allows you to pay non-traditional items. The third use case, which I think is actually the most beneficial, is you can set your own terms with the vendor. A good example of this would be COVID hit. You're a fine dining restaurant, and now out of nowhere, you have to be a to-go restaurant. You don't have plastic forks and foam boxes because you're a fine dining establishment. So you go to your restaurant vendor, you go to get a bunch of plastic forks and foam boxes, the restaurant vendor will not give you credit because it's COVID and you're a restaurant. And we all know restaurants did not have any cash flow for a little while there. So as the restaurant owner, I could actually, I don't want to let go of my cash, right? It's because I don't know if I'm going to have any customers. I don't know if this takeout thing is going to work. So now I can buy these foam boxes and plastic forks on my credit card, immediately show the vendor. They'll get an email notification that a payment's on the way, either through ACH or a paper check's on the way. They can give me those foam boxes, those plastic forks. I can sell food to customers. And then 45 days later, when my credit card bill comes, I can pay the credit card bill. So it enables me to set terms when vendors will not give me terms. And I think that's going to be like the use case that's most helpful for your customers, managing tight cash flow situations. And then obviously the people that want the points. I'm sorry, and I forgot one thing. There is a fee to pay by credit card. Just a reminder, it's a 2.9% fee to pay by credit cards. So inviting users. Let me switch screens here. So Melio has a very similar user model the way QuickBooks Online does, where you have kind of the owner of the QuickBooks Online, the owner of the business, and they add you as their accountant or bookkeeper, or you set it up and then invite the owner to the QuickBooks instance. It's a very, very similar model. So we're going to go to invite users. And in my case, I have a bunch of users added, but you'll see that model. I'm the owner, and I have people set up as accountants, and I have people set up as contributors. So I'm going to just click invite user. And it's very straightforward. There's 3 permission models. One is admin. Admins, just like it says, can do anything they want in Melio. They can delete bank accounts. They can disconnect it from QuickBooks. They can add other users. They can set limits for other users. So you don't want to blindly just add admins. You want to add admins that should be admins to your Melio account. Accountants, if a small business owner invites you as the accountant, you pretty much can do everything you need to do that an admin can, except for the additional level of they can put a spend limit on you. And you might implement this yourself, right? Where you don't want to be the last person signing off on a payment going out the door. So a lot of accountants and bookkeepers will ask the business owner, hey, put a limit on me of over $25. Any bill over $25, you need to approve, or maybe it's $100, right? And then contributors is almost like a junior bookkeeper role. So a contributor can't mess around with the bank accounts. They can't disconnect it from QuickBooks. All they can do is come in here and schedule bill payments, right? It's a super limited role. And then again, you can set up approvals for those junior bookkeepers or contributors as well. And all you do is you just come in, you type in the dollar amount of the approval level, and then you first name, last name, email address, send an invite, they get it, they set up their Melio account. Once they set up their Melio account, they will show up on here as a person that has set up their account and has completed it. As you can see, my son, he never clicked on it, it expired, so he's just not using it anymore. And this is my real company with I showed you all my payment methods that are connected in here, but I don't have any fears because I have 2 coworkers in here, Erin, who's actually helping out with this webinar. I don't fear that she's going to send a check or pay herself thousands of dollars because I put a spend limit of $1 on her. So she could nickel and dime me to death, right? A bunch of 99-cent checks or payments she could pay to herself. But anything above $1, I have to approve for it to go out the door. And that's the same thing with my daughter. I have her set up as a contributor with a limit of $1. So let's talk into approval workflow. Oh, and apparently I have a dog barking. I do apologize for that. Maybe she'll stop here. So we get into approvals. The way to think about approvals in Melio are very similar to the olden days. So back in the day, an accountant or bookkeeper would handwrite all the paper checks all week. And then on Friday evening, they would take them into the business owner. The business owner would sit down with that big notebook of checks, and they would sign the checks they want to pay that week. That essentially was an approval workflow, right? Accountant or bookkeepers pay all the bills, the business owner signs them, and the checks that got signed got put in the mail to be paid, right? That is essentially how Melio works. You as the accountant or bookkeeper will schedule the bill payments, have them all ready to go, and then the business owner will come in and approve each bill payment as they go out the door. Hold on, I do apologize. 1 second. Let me mute 1 second.
David, when you were gone, we had a few questions on the kind of dog you have.
Oh, great.
What her name is.
Oh, kind of dog. She is an Australian Shepherd, and there's a vacuum that was left out, but it wasn't turned on, and she was barking at a non-functioning vacuum. So that's the way things go in these COVID days, right? So let me flip over to, oops, my slide deck moved while I left the room. I'm going to show actually an approval workflow work here. So I'm going to flip over to a different browser tab, and this is me logged in as my daughter. Like I showed before, she's invited to my Melio. And this is her account, so she's in here, but I put a limit on her of $1. So she's gonna pay a bill. So she's gonna pay my admin. Here, bill. So I'm gonna have her add a bill. So I'm gonna do a new payment. We're gonna add a bill manually. I'm gonna put in the vendor name. Put put this to virtual admin. We're going to put the amount of 300. And it's a one-time, and we'll put the bill number as today's date, 2020 10/08. And the due date, I'm just going to put as tomorrow. That's fine. And I'm going to put 10 hours of virtual admin. Save and schedule a payment. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pay this through this bank account here. I'm going to hit continue. And in this case, a new feature we're testing is same day delivery. So I'm going to choose that just so it goes out the same day. So it'll go out tomorrow and the vendor will receive it tomorrow. And invoice number should be fine. And so now there's a bill that's been created. Review and confirm. I'm going to go ahead and confirm this. And remember, I'm signed in right now as my daughter. If you've noticed, it says Cassie up here in my browser, and it's been set. So now it's set up and it's pending approval. So now me as the business owner am going to get an email. So I have my inbox here. Let me make sure it's ready to go so I can show you. Okay, so I'm going to move this over to here to this screen. So I have my inbox as small as I can get it, because this is how my inbox shows up on my telephone. One column, it's all there. And so now I got an email that says approval is required, the $300 payment. So I have the email and it's telling me that I have to review this payment. So I'm going to click on this payment as the business owner. It's going to take a moment. It's going to open up Melio. So imagine me being on my telephone. Oops, sorry about that. And so now I'm the business owner, I'm on my telephone, and I see now that a payment's been scheduled by Cassandra Leary. It shows what bank account it's from. It shows the amount, who it's for. I can review all the information. Since I just did that, I don't really have to review it with too much detail. And I'm just gonna click approve. This is all your business owner needs to do. The business owner will just get the email, click the button on the email. Melio opens on their phone, and it's very clean, easy to do. They can either choose to decline the payment or approve the payment. In this case, I'm gonna approve the payment. So I'm going to hit approve. It's going to tell me that it's been approved. And now it's no longer as a bill in my inbox. It's actually going to show up as a scheduled payment. And it's showing up now as a scheduled payment for Christine. And I'm going to get out of the phone view as the owner. I'm going to flip back over to the browser just because it's a little easier to show there. So give me a moment to change screens. And I don't want to be in as my daughter, so I'm just going to close that browser tab entirely. And I'm going to switch back in to me as the business owner. I'm going to hit refresh because we were in and out with different logins. Give it a moment. And now that we are in here, I go to scheduled. I can click on that bill payment. That's now been scheduled. And I can see the details of this bill payment. And everything's slower on Zoom. There it goes. And you'll see that this payment was scheduled by Cassandra Leary. She was the contributor. And then it was approved by me. So there's kind of like a mini audit trail there that you can easily see. And it says it's scheduled. So tomorrow, when this goes out on the 9th, this will move over to the paid box. Now let me show you what the audit trail looks like on a payment that got declined. So this payment right here for Target. So Erin, who's on the call here, she scheduled a payment for $180. I declined it and I put a note in, I don't have a bill for Target. And then it shows that I declined it and the audit trail is there. So now I have a choice. I could delete the bill. I could schedule a new payment. So I have options to deal with this, but Erin was not able to just mail off a check or do an ACH transfer out of my account because I declined it. It stopped it. It's basically be like the business owner not signing that paper check. So now let's talk Melio Me. And this is the accounts receivable part of Melio. So everybody who gets Melio gets a URL. In my case, it's melio.me/Sombrero Apps Company. In your case, it would be melio.me, your firm name. If you've used PayPal, right, or used Venmo, you might have venmo.me with your personal name on it, right? So every person who gets Melio gets this URL for their business. And they can give this URL to other businesses to be paid. So what I do in my QuickBooks, every time I send an invoice out of QuickBooks, QuickBooks will take that invoice and it sends the email. And in the email, I put the link to here. I say, hey, if you want to pay through ACH or credit cards, use this link and you can pay me there. So my customer gets this link, they come here, they type in the amount, they put the invoice number in, they hit pay, and then they pay how they want to pay. Bank fee, or either through a bank transfer, or they can pay through a credit card. Now, I don't care how they pay because I get the full deposit in my bank account. It comes down the bank feed. It matches directly to the invoice. I don't have to deal with any of that headache of fees and expenses. And then the customer gets to pay how they want to pay when they want to pay it. Now, two important things to remember about the accounts receivable side of Melio right now. It's only business to business. So if you're an ice cream shop and people are coming into the front door and buying ice cream cones, you can't use it as a point of sale. They can't pay you through Melio Me. Now, if you're an ice cream shop and you cater a lunch for another small business, that small business can pay you through Melio Me. Or for like accountants and bookkeepers, if all your clients are small business owners, your entire client base can pay you through Melio Me. If you're doing personal taxes for people, all those personal tax returns, those customers cannot pay you through Melio Me. So right now it is only business to business. Doesn't mean it'll be that forever, but that's what it is today. And the other part to remember is Melio Me is fairly new in the grand scheme of the Melio family here. And Melio Me does not yet integrate with QuickBooks Online, but that is coming down the pipe soon. And just a time check here. So yes, just to review again, Melio is free. So all the stuff I've showed you so far is all free except for the credit card payments. There is a 2.9% fee for credit card payments. And with that said, we do have some time for Q&A. But before I let you start asking me a lot of Q&A, I know you guys have been asking along the way, I have just 2 questions for you and have a little poll if you guys could just respond to that. If you want to kick that off, Aaron.
I've kicked off the poll.
Okay.
Give everyone a minute.
I did the poll myself. I think once we get to about 97% respondents, I think you probably shut that down. And I know this is scheduled to end at the top of the hour, but I'm always willing to, if there's good questions coming in and it makes sense to answer them, we can go a little bit longer if we need to.
Give this one more minute. If you haven't answered the poll, just 2 quick questions if you're able to locate it on your screen. So we got a number of questions. Again, I'm just going to put our website and email. Actually, David has it up right there. So please make sure to bookmark meliopayments.com/accountants. You could also feel free to email us. I know that in the next 11 minutes, or even maybe over, if anyone wants to stay, we might not get through everything. We have a ton of questions and many that we weren't able to answer. We'd love to answer everyone's questions, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll go through some of the common questions that we got in the chat, David. So one question would be, how many bank accounts or credit cards can I add? Do I only have to choose one bank account, and how does that work?
I don't know what the limit is. I currently have 5 connected to my Melio. Let me switch screens here and just quickly show that again one more time. So this is my Melio for my real company. I click on settings. I'm going to go to my payment methods, and I have 5 different bank accounts. I can, a personal credit card, a business credit card, and 3 different bank accounts I can pay somebody with at any time. I can pick any of these 5.
Yeah, if anyone liked today's demo, you could send David a nice little payment through Melio Me.
You don't have to pay me.
You don't have to do that. It was
on the receiving side, we only let in one method, right? One bank account.
Yeah. And that was another question. So you answered that. If I want my vendors to pay me through my Melio Me link, do I have to keep setting that up? And David, you just answered that, which is no, you set up the bank account you'd like to receive those payments to.
Yep.
Now, could you review again? We just had a number of questions about approvals and authorizations. If you could just walk everyone through what that looks like.
Yeah, and so I already paid that bill, so we could do another fake one here quickly. So I'm going to go in as my daughter again. Melio. So I have a user set up. It's my daughter. she has a limit of $1. So if she creates a bill for 99 cents, it's going to go right through the system, no problem. But if it's above $1, it's going to come back to me as the business owner to approve. So I'm going to...
And I think, David, some of the questions we got were around like the layers of approval. So with that layer, there's only that one, right? So accountants or contributors right now at the moment get approved only by owners or admins. So if you add people to your staff and you're an accountant in the system, you don't get kicked over their payments, but you're able to set the spending limits on them.
Yeah, so we don't have multiple layers because we're not an overly complex, expensive solution. We're the solution that's good enough for 95% of your clients. 95% of your clients just need that one little gatekeeper before it goes out the door, that one small check. They don't need 5 people to approve a payment to go out the door. Doesn't mean we may not add a second layer of approval one day, but as of right now, we're not that solution. We're the solution for everybody that just needs to do simple payments and have a simple approval process.
Yeah, and another great question, sort of that vein, just as you don't have to pay to add any number of seats or any number of clients. We were also asked, since I know this comes up a lot, if the people you're paying have to sign up for a Melio account in order to be paid by you through Melio.
No, they can just, if they choose to get paid through ACH, they provide their ACH numbers, they'll get the money. If they choose to put in their address to get a paper check, they'll get a paper check. So you don't have to sign up to cash a paper check or get a paper check. Right? Now they can choose to set up, because remember, this is business to business, so they don't have to, but they might find some benefits of using Melio themselves, right? But it is not a requirement. I know in some apps it is a requirement. Yep.
Great. Checking a few things here. I know we've had a number of different questions that are a bit specific. Just for the very active people in the chat, I do want to let you know, we saw a number of questions about invoice images, what information gets sent between the systems. David, I'm not sure if you want to go into that, because we had a number of different questions on that, but we do have a very thorough FAQ on our website detailing this, but not sure if you want to summarize some of that.
Kind of speak to the images at a high level. So you can, if you use this on your mobile phone, when you upload invoice, you can take a photo of a bill and upload it to Melio, and we will pull the vendor name, the dollar amount, and the date off of that, so you can pay that bill. Right? You can upload a PDF, and that attachment, when you eventually print the check, will get put in the envelope with the check and sent off with the remittance, right? Now, when we integrate with QuickBooks, so some of you like to use third-party products like an AutoEntry or a HubDoc or Receipt Bank, or even now QuickBooks themselves scan bills. So if you could scan those bills, put them into QuickBooks, and it shows up as an attachment on the bill. As of right now, we do not pull that attachment over to Melio. So there's like a disconnect in that workflow, and that's something that the engineering team is very aware of. I'm working with them. We want to get that added in for all of you.
Great. Thanks, David. Now, this is a little less about the product, but we got this a bunch in the chat. It's a question, as you know, we commonly get in our demos, and everyone here, welcome to join any other demo that we have. We have them multiple times a week. But David, how does Melio make money? It seems too good to be free.
How does Melio make money? Melio makes money, like we said, on the credit card fees. So if somebody pays via credit card or pays you via a credit, if you pay via credit card or somebody pays you via a credit card, there's a 2.9% fee for that. Like I said, I think in my demo, I just showed how I did a fast payment, right? It was a next day payment, and there's a fee for that. Like I mentioned, we might be charging fees if you need a check hand delivered, right? It has to fly in first class or something. There could be fees for these additional things, but the basic fundamental tenet, there won't be fees for the basic ACH payment, one business to another business. There won't be fees for that. Now, it's almost in a way like an Evernote model or a premium model, or really the Venmo model, right? Venmo and PayPal, you can pay people for free. But if you want anything extra, like instant deposits or instant money, there's fees for that, right? And so it's a very similar business model to that, or I like to think kind of like an Evernote premium model, right? If only a small percentage of the people you pay for Evernote Premium, Evernote's able to offer Evernote the rest of the features for free to the whole entire world. So it's kind of that similar model. As long as some people are paying some of their bills with a credit card, it's enough to make this a viable business model. And it's really the magic that helped Melio figure out how to fill that gap between either an expensive solution or using the crappy bank website for free. Melio figured that out, and it's because of the credit card payments.
Cool. A couple more questions we have here. One, we're getting a number of questions around, I signed up as an accountant. Does that mean I'm automatically added as an accountant when my client invites me, and how does that work?
Yes, if your client, they can add you, right? They can go into their Melio. If they're already using Melio, they can go into their Melio, they can go to their manage users. They can invite you, right, as an accountant. You just want to make sure you tell them what email address to use, right? Sometimes they don't even have the email address. And this is a similar model as QuickBooks. You have to give them the right email address or they can't add you as their accountant. Same thing. Now, you can actually beat them to the punch, because if you have QuickBooks rights to them, if you're their QuickBooks accountant, you can just go to your dashboard and just add all your clients there. So even if they're already using Melio, we will just detect them because they're connected to QuickBooks, and we'll just put them on your dashboard for you.
Yeah, and I think this is a great screen because we've just had a number of questions on this, and nothing is permanent. So if your owner invites you and they accidentally make you an admin or a contributor, they can always edit. Just remember the owner has to change it. And again, for any of these issues, we know it's confusing, especially sometimes for owners who are new to this kind of system. So you can always email our team. We have the dedicated sales and support teams at accountants@meliopayments.com, and we're happy to set that up. That was just a question that came through a bunch in the chat, so I'm glad we were able to cover that. I think we have time for one or two more questions, David.
Okay.
So one, a question about international payments. Where is Melio heading on that?
So soon, is my understanding. We're starting to head down that path to be able to do international payments. As of right now, today, we do not do them.
Yeah. And then I think we'll try to squeeze in one or two more. Another one, we're getting a lot of questions about the credit card fees and who takes on the responsibility of paying that fee.
The person who pays it is the person who chooses to pay that way. So if I'm the small business owner and I'm paying a bill by credit card, I pay that fee. And it comes through as a separate charge from Melio. So your bill payment reconciles really nicely to the bill it's paying. Now, if a customer of mine pays me and they choose to pay by credit card, they pay the credit card fee. And that shows up in their own bookkeeping system. I don't even see the fee. Frankly, I do not know how somebody even paid. And to be honest, I don't care. I just want to get paid. And it's just like the Venmo model, right? Like if I pay you, Aaron, right? And I'm going to pay you through Venmo. You don't care if I paid you through my credit card or if I paid you through an ACH transfer or if I took coins and put it into a special envelope and mailed it to Venmo. You just care that Venmo paid you the way you wanted to be paid, right? It's that same model. So the fee is assessed to whoever's choosing to pay by credit card.
Great. Yeah. And that was asked a few times. So just even to reemphasize the point, because it came up a bunch, you don't care how someone's paying you. And if they pay by credit card, you as the recipient, you do not have the amount that you're paid reduced because they chose to pay by credit card. You wouldn't even know, as David said. Another point that came up, sort of going back to approvals just for a moment, because I'm seeing we had a number of questions on this. When it comes to approvals, that's a great reason to use purple and green. And as David showed, the side-by-side and the sync between QuickBooks and purple Melio, as we call it, you're definitely able to switch between the systems and use them as you need them. And we actually had an attendee give a great example saying, if I want to take bulk actions, I should go into QuickBooks and use bill pay to pay multiple bills at once. But if I want to make sure that approvals are being used, I could switch back into purple. I think that's a great example.
And don't feel locked into either, right? Like you can dance. Whatever's right that day for that client, use purple. If the right thing to do is be in QuickBooks, sometimes in the same day, I'll use both. Just wherever I'm at and whatever I'm trying to do, you can dance between the two. And that's what's nice about this.
Yeah. I know we're at the end of the hour here. David, not sure if you want to stay for a few minutes. We could continue answering people's questions, but maybe we'll say a quick thank you to those who have to drop off.
Yeah. So thank you for attending, everybody. Hopefully we will see you contacting us through support. We'll see you sending payments. That would be very exciting to see you adding a bunch of clients to your dashboard. And hopefully we'll eventually see each other at an accounting conference again here soon, maybe when the pandemic's finally over. So thanks for coming, everybody. I do appreciate it. And I will stay for 5 more minutes, and we can do a couple extra questions if we need to.
Great.
If anybody wants to stay.
Great. And thanks, Sarah. Some of these messages for the attendees who are staying, we're getting some questions. A lot of them are in private message. Sarah, great to hear you're having a great experience. Really nice to hear. All right. I'm going to go through some of these other questions. Also, if anyone wants to put more questions in the chat in the Zoom and not the Q&A, you can feel free to do that, and we'll try to answer for those of you who are still here. David, we've also had a number of questions of what happens when I send a check. Am I printing the check, and when is Melio taking that money out of my bank account?
Okay, so Melio is going to take the money out of your bank account on the day you say to take it out of your bank account. So remember, we went through the demo, and you picked the little calendar and you picked the day. That's the day Melio will take it out of your bank account. Melio takes it out of your bank account, and that's it. Then Melio will go and print a check with our bank routing numbers on the check, not your bank routing numbers on the check, and we send that off to the vendor, then the vendor cashes it. So you don't print the check, we print the check. It has our bank routing numbers on it. Right? Maybe sometimes we don't send the check. Sometimes the vendor chose to get an ACH payment and we route it through ACH. But we don't take it. We take it out of your bank account the day you say to take it out of your bank account.
Great. And we've had a few questions about like voided checks. What happens if it doesn't get deposited? If it doesn't get deposited, if it gets voided, people throw it away or they tear it up. We have a bill ops team that can reissue that. And after a certain amount of time, I think it's 45 days, it automatically gets shoved back into your account anyways, or your client's account. But we do have a bill ops team for any investigations that you need to. You can always reach us through the accountants team, and we can escalate that up and research any of those types of things. The one thing I think that is important to talk about is ACH. A lot of people, I'm surprised it hasn't came up yet, is a lot of people usually ask about the timing on ACH. So it's 3 business days for ACH, because you have your bank, you have the ACH system, and then you have the bank getting the money, right? So it's usually 3 days. But the easy way to think about this from an accountant and bookkeeper's perspective, if you want the money to be in somebody's account on Friday, you need to schedule the payment by Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, East Coast time on a Tuesday to get it there on Friday. Very similar, I think a lot of, depending on which payroll provider you use, payroll direct deposit systems a lot of times have like a cutoff time in order to get it there by Friday. Same type of thing. So it's for us, it's Tuesday at that time. Hopefully we're going to be adding a second partner bank to where we'll be able to have a later, a West Coast cutoff as well. So we'll be able to get two waves of payments out the door, which will help speed up some of that. If you miss the deadline on one day, you don't have to wait till the next day. There might be a second evening boat going out the door. Great. And we've also had a number of questions about the self-onboarding ACH. So a good question from Jana here is, does the vendor have to choose how they want to be paid, or can we just send a check?
You can, yes. So you get to, I have an appendix slide here. So you have the choice when you pay somebody, you can choose to send them a check. If you happen to have their ACH numbers, you could just type those in yourself, or you can say, ask them to decide. And so if you ask them, they have to decide, right? They got to pick one of these 2 options. But if you already know the option ahead of time, you can just decide that for them if you have the ACH numbers or if you have their address. Great.
We've had a few questions about the different types of emails that are sent, both for approvals and also to a vendor when you schedule a payment.
So the email to the vendor won't happen until the money comes out of your bank account. And the reason why is there's a chance that you could edit the amount. You could change the amount. We don't want to send them an email too early. So once the money comes out of your bank account and it moves from scheduled to paid, that's when we send a notification to the vendor telling them, hey, you're going to get paid. The money's on its way. Now, you'll get emails all along the way. When they cash the check, you'll get a deposit. You also get emails for your clients. Now, one thing we're working on that's coming down the pipe soon is summary emails. So if you have 40 clients and you're paying hundreds of bills, you don't want 100 separate emails. And so we're going to start sending accountants and bookkeepers summary emails. Or if a business owner owns multiple businesses, they would get a summary email with just a summary of the transactions that went through for a period of time.
Great. One of our very common questions that I was not able to get to in the chat, David, where are we on a Xero integration?
Right now, Xero integration is probably further away than we would like. Kind of two reasons for this. We still have to make the QuickBooks Online one amazing. Like we have a whole accounts receivable part of Melio that doesn't integrate with QuickBooks Online yet, right? So we still have to build that out. That Melio's new on this accountant's journey, right? We just launched the accountant's website 4 weeks ago, whatever, the holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend, right? So it's a lot of this is new. We're new on this journey and things are just taking some time. The other trouble with Xero is Xero itself, the vast majority of their customers are in Australia, the vast majority. And in Australia, a product like Melio will never exist because in Australia, they have 4 banks and the 4 banks got together with the government and they built their own version of Melio. And so businesses use this government system to pay each other in Australia. And so a bill pay product in Australia doesn't make a lot of sense. And if Xero has 1 million customer businesses in Australia, but they can never use a Melio product, like where do you build for that, right? Now, I know that Xero does have some traction in the States now. They're starting to push, I think, 300,000 users now. Eventually, yes, we'll probably integrate with Xero, but it's not something we're probably going to see in the short term.
Great. And for those who are still here, again, I'm trying to ask the questions that were most commonly asked, but since about half the participants dropped off, if you're still here with a specific question, please feel free to actually put it in the chat window itself and not the Q&A so we can make sure to address it since you're still here. David, if you
are still here, and actually it just went up to 52, so people are coming back.
We've had a bunch of questions about recurring payments. How would you recommend our users make recurring payments?
So you can do recurring payments inside of Melio. And basically what Melio will do is it'll automatically create the bill and the bill payment. If you set it for every month or every week, and it'll just create those. I don't recommend using Melio to do that at this point in time because the way we send it to QuickBooks is it's probably okay if you're just a small business owner, but I think as an accountant or bookkeeper, you may not like it. If you're paying a bill every week for 52 weeks and you schedule that in Melio, Melio is going to put all of those bills and bill payments into QuickBooks. So it's going to make reconciliation hard. My recommendation is you create a recurring transaction in QuickBooks, a recurring bill in QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks will enter that based on the schedule you set up, and that bill will just show up in Melio when it's time to pay it, and then you just pay it in Melio. So that's my recommendation.
Great. We've had a number of questions about invoice images. What's the way to make sure that you have it? Who sees it? If you send a payment, does your approver see that image? Does it get sent in email? All questions about invoice image.
Yes. So they do see it. It shows up. It does not actually go in the email, but when they view it, they can see it. Unfortunately, I don't think I have one attached, but I can show you where it would show up if I did have it attached. So we'll just go back to that image. Remember the bill, Aaron, that you created for Target that I declined?
Yeah.
So we can just take a look at that one and pretend if you would have uploaded it, it would have shown up here. And I could have clicked on it and looked at it. But you didn't upload anything, so there's nothing here.
Right.
But people will see this, and then that image, the bill image, will print out and go out with the paper check. Obviously, if it's ACH, it's not being sent through ACH. It'll never go that way.
We've also had a few questions on vendor payments and how we handle that in QuickBooks Green.
Vendor payments.
Sorry, vendor credits. I missed.
Vendor credits, okay. Yeah, as of right now, we do not handle vendor credits. So you'll have to apply the credit first inside of QuickBooks Online, and we have an FAQ for this. Apply the vendor credit in QuickBooks Online first, then go to Melio to pay and pay the bills, as you normally would.
Great. We also had a question about approvals. If someone adds, let's say, a junior accountant or bookkeeper in their firm or some of their staff, what permissions will they have? Are they able to access all the clients on your dashboard?
So you can assign. So you can invite. So just like add users here. Let me change over to my add users in my company. So imagine if this was a client of mine, and I can invite just my team to the client that they need to be invited to. So if I have a team of 25 people, but only Aaron and Zoe and Cassie need to be on this client. I only invite them to this client. But then I have a different client with a different team member that needs to be on that client. I would invite that team member to that specific client. If that makes sense that way. And there was a second part of that question was the...
I think we both forgot. No, I think that hit the nail on the head with the question. You can add your staff to the specific companies, and those are the only companies that they'll see. So it's not that by inviting your staff members, they'll suddenly have access to every single client on the dashboard. You can even set different restriction limits for the payments they can make in the different companies as you do for yourself. That limit just can never be higher than your own limit, right? So if you have a $1,000 limit or $10,000 limit, you can't say that your staff can, have a $100,000 limit. The system won't allow that. Just going through some questions here. I think at this point, we've gone through the most common questions. I know there were a lot left. Some of them are very specific. We have a ton of very detailed FAQs written by you, David, that I really encourage everyone to look at. And our team, our dedicated sales team, is on the call. So, hey guys, we're all here to help answer your questions. So if we didn't get to it, we would be more than happy. You send us an email at accountants@meliopayments.com, and we will make sure to answer your question if it wasn't done here.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.